evening. Thank you for being here. Let's start off with, this is from the sports page. When hitters, baseball hitters, go into slumps, it's often because they're trying too hard. When they go to the plate thinking too much, they can tie themselves up in knots. It's already difficult enough to hit big league pitching. Complicating things makes it nearly impossible. So I would say, you don't have to go watch Friday Night Zoom anymore. You can just read the sports page, but Jack Wada will jump in and say, I told you so, so I won't go there. Okay. So, but that does bring one more thing I should add. Okay, what do we got here? I don't know how to draw an inner activity, but inner work, center should be getting better, or you use center to facilitate getting into inner. Base should get better as you go more inner, or you could use base as a direction to go inner, better base, deeper inner, ... If you're working inner, there should possibly be a glow, okay? That's what that is, a glow around the person of some type, okay? The quality of the glow could change, but inner work should facilitate centering, grounding, that inner glow, that radiation, whatever. If people see nice auras, you've got somebody who's more squared away and their aura looks prettier or whatever. Okay? So now, this article, Olympians open up about mental health. Okay? So here they're talking about Olympians committing suicide and whatever. Michael Phelps, right? Most decorated Olympic athlete of all time. And they name how many medals he's got, and at one point, he went second DUI arrest. He broke down and cried uncontrollably and thought strongly about killing himself. So for me, that would sort of point at outward training as opposed to inner development and train, but it's inner development training as opposed to just out there training. So the article goes through a lot of Olympian level athletes who are cracking up, committing suicide, and on and on and on. So inner development, what's the problem? Having an interest in it is one, okay? See, I never, for myself, would have chosen boxing over Tai Chi, okay? I would have definitely gone for Tai Chi. Why? Because it's an inner art, inner, finer energies active, okay? So if I had a choice, my druthers, there'd be no choice. Bing, Tai Chi. Okay. You'll notice some people come to your Aikido school and they want to wrestle or something, and they realize you don't really wrestle, and they'll leave. You give them the address of the nearest jujitsu or MMA school or whatever, because they tell you, and you know they're not going to fit into your program. So some degree of an inner sense and some desire to work the inner, okay? Often this earlier desire of this inner push, if you would, that pushed you towards Aikido, you forget it after a while. You get caught up in the extremities, doing that technique and this technique and a variety of techniques and on and on and on. and you forget what originally brought you there. No Sensei mentioned that. He said something about that. To remember what originally brought you in. Okay, because the original push that made you sign up probably was a finer inner push. And easy to get lost in this outer activity. Why? Again, not knowing how it works. For some people, not knowing it even exists. So I'm sure there's somebody out there who would say, what do you mean by inner? Inner finer of your system. It was mentioned in one of the articles about the baseball where they said getting into your eye too much will screw up your batting capability. So the one killer is an eyeing, okay? And that eye, if it's a little bit negative, will critique everything. You got to do something. I don't know. I'm not doing that very well and on. They'll try to control everything. It thinks mind-body harmony is where the eye is telling the body what to do, and they think that's mind-body harmony, dear God. And even a little bit worse than a controlling eye is when we come into an awareness, two eyes, okay, an awareness that wants to look at everything, be aware of it, as opposed to being in the middle of it, the actual here and now, experiencing. Let me think about experiencing. Nope, don't go there. Let me go even finer. Be more aware about. Let me become an intellectual awareness person on whatever. I wouldn't go there because it's here. Okay. So we noticed we did some basic settling stuff on one of the Fridays, and we talked about the energy forces in some cases sort of coming up at you like spears or something and kind of pushing you away. And people not knowing what to do with that, sometimes not even being aware of it. They sort of get pushed over virtually, and they're not aware of what happened. Okay. So inner work is what I do, and the essence of Aikido, a la O Sensei, okay, inner work. If we have an idea, that'll kill everything if we stay there. If we go into awareness about, we're still sort of out here looking at, that'll kill it. How to settle down. As we settle down, we start to naturally pass through dimensions into finer and finer of energy activity. Okay? Basics, you all know that, right? Basics. And so why don't we do more inner work? Well, first, how do we deal with those energies? We've covered that a bit, how to recognize the push, how to settle with the push, how to open to the push, how to have a sense of opening a bit and allowing those energies that we're pushing to mix up, if you would, a better character, or I could say breed a better character. Sensei would say rebirth yourself. Fancy words. So some knowledge about how it works can't hurt, and that's what I try to do. Okay? The inner, maybe, gotcha. If you want to grab your invisible partner, play along. Hip push. Okay. So basic, whatever. And she pushes and I break. Okay. Now, we're playing a game here. I settle and I open, and the system is mixing up a little better person who stands against that hip pressure and I start to break. Right there at those breaking points, you could start thinking about it, worrying about it. What just happened? What did I do wrong? What can I do better? I. I don't go there after a bit. It's from that moment on, it's not my job. I give myself, if you would, to how things work. I settle and I open more. Sense of energies mixing up and creating a better character. And conscious is yes, better character. Yeah, character. But I think to study, if you have one more, and enough to break me there. There. All the consternation that could go on right there is worth noting. Just to notice all and the different types of consternation. What I do wrong. How can I do it better? Trying to figure out. So save you time and trouble. I don't take the time to try to figure out. I let the system, so let's take this one slower. System, in essence, I think system, I'd like to stand stronger, but it already knows that. It's intelligence. Already knows that. It's already setting up. What can I feel there? Not that I have to, because I'm not going to do it. But I notice this feels a little, my thigh feels, this forward thigh feels a little thicker. Easy. What else is going on? I notice a little straightening in my back or behind my back going on. A little flavor of something backing me up a bit. Anything else I'm noticing? Not that I have to, but just to converse. A little something whooshy, but nothing clear. And one more, please. And whatever this system at this level wants to do, you break in me. So I break. How I spot people that starts to break and they start to dig. Okay, it's like, oh, and that happens. I call that ego. If at this moment, I'm a 10-pounder, arbitrary count, I'm a 10-pounder, okay? Then for me to add more means I'm trying to be a 12-pounder, but I'm not. I'm a 10-pounder lying. I call that ego, okay? So I'm a 10-pounder. If he breaks, fine. Again, in a certain way, it's not my business. My business is to open up because the system wants to develop a 20, there we go, a 20-pounder. I can feel him mixing. Here he is. It's not an idea. I'll stay on that for a moment. I think, oh yeah, a 20-pounder. If I drift off here, she'll break me down real fast. Okay, so that's the killer, to drift off and to come around and look, is it working yet? Okay, you see, you've left this organized system. And when it starts to square away, that's when she feels it and laughs. This organized system. Okay, take a break. Okay. So inner work. A sense of inner. Settling. Sense of a little more room. So basic potted plant theory. Settling, sense of more room. And a sense of energies mixing up, trying to mix up a better character. A sense. Not an idea about it. That guy, remember that guy? Let me think about that. Let me think and see if I agree with that. Okay? Don't go there. You're used to going there, but after a while you can be very fast. Okay, I'm back. I'm aware of that and I'm back here experiencing. So you're not locked into going there and turning and mulling on it and drifting off. Okay? it's a possibility. I think we've done a Friday or so about that kind of flow drift. Maybe that was the I train run, different places you could move to. They're not wrong, they're there, but there's certain times you don't want to drift to daydreaming place, which is an okay place at certain times. When it's time to be present, active, drive your car. You don't want to go into daydreaming when you're driving your car or your motorcycle or whatever. Okay, so it's inner work. Inner work. What is it? Finer energies, as you keep settling and opening, potentially you're crossing into finer dimensions. Okay. We tried to show you that with, what was the arm practice we did? I think raising the arm, where we were playing that, okay, I'm raising my arm, I did it, okay? And then we settle a bit, next level, easy, opening, energies are gathering, and it, woo, not bad, it floated up, almost as if something else floated it up. I didn't, my shoulders, okay. Now, because that was good, let me think about that so I can do it again. Well, in a certain way, I didn't do it in the first place. The system, for lack of words, this natural system is trying to assemble. It's assembling better and better. So I position my feet a little bit different. So this raise could happen better. It's supporting the raise. Okay. So we did that pattern, if you recall, to try to show you a little bit about finer dimensions are very close. And as you ease and settle, each dimension is there, mixing a different level of arm raiser. Okay. And that's what I try to do in the Aikido is using techniques, try to move you into a better dimension because you will naturally do a technique better from a better dimension. Okay. So I try to distinguish that maybe with, touch him, you borrow your arm there a moment. Just stay there for that. Ikkyo, okay? I can do Ikkyo, okay? And I can learn more about it so I can do it. I learned if you twist their arm, but I'm twisting her arm. I'm getting further out of center potentially. I'm a little, felt my feet come up a little bit because I'm out there doing it. Extrinsic, what about the inner work? Settling finer. Inner formulates that flowing. Oh, it flows. Easy. I could ponder flowing for a while. Easy. Come back here. Open. And it, okay, now what happened on that one, or what's happening, is it's bringing up support from back around here to there. Okay, so instead of me creating the support, working extrinsically for that inner work, it starts to be present and appear and happen through me. That's from inner work, outer expression, inner work. Okay, thank you. Now, at first, outer work alone can look faster than inner work development. So we kind of tell people, don't we, in Aikido, it's good art and all of that, but it's going to take you a bit longer because we have two areas to cover. One is a certain amount of outer basic technique stuff. The other part is the inner work. Right? So it could take a bit longer because we're covering twice as much ground. It would be like maybe comparing a boxer, if he went to a boxing class first time, as opposed to a guy who's going to go to Tai Chi. Not Tai Chi, the exercise, Tai Chi as a fighting art. That the boxer might get faster results before the month is over, his punch is stronger. That bag is jiggling a bit more. He can feel it. The Tai Chi person may not notice much improvement that first month, but in the long run, the Tai Chiist is better than the boxer. Okay. That's story time. So, a friend of mine in Japan, Westerner, loved karate, loved it. And he went to the head of this very big school, head teacher, head man. And he said, Sensei's karate, hard karate, the best, produces the best fighters. And Sensei said, yes. But at that time, there's a Chinese martial artist passing through that many of us foreigners spent some time with. And so in reference to him, he said to the teacher, but what about the Chinese guys? And the head teacher said, oh, I'm just talking about normal human beings. They're not normal. But for normal human beings, our school and karate is the best. But those guys aren't normal, so we can't bring them into the discussion. So I'm almost saying to you, do you want to be normal, or do you want to be something better, something different? Okay, and I think most of you, especially if you come to my classes, have a feeling of something more than the obvious out there. Okay, and if you don't have that sense, you probably won't like any kind of inner work. Okay, that karate teacher, for example, apparently was in China for many years and saw these people, or Chinese fighters, and yet saw how good they were and how different they were, and yet chose basic karate. So he wasn't called to do the inner work, even though it was obviously they were better. Okay? So there's one. Why don't we do inner work? Maybe you don't have a calling for it. I think if you don't have a calling for it, you wouldn't be watching me now. So I think I'm talking to the who? Talking to the gospel? Is that gospel? No, choir. Thank you. Talking to the choir. But so why don't we do inner? This will keep you away from it. I don't understand it. I have to understand it before I can do it. No, you have to ease the eye, ease the eye, ease the eye. Eventually, as you keep being easy, what happened to my friend? There it is. The eye is connected to a finer level eye, and that eye is connected to a I self, and that one eventually connected to a truer self and a more original self, finer self, pure self. Maybe the word soul comes in there for some people. This is just a continuation, so that diagram, keeping them separate that way is not right. It's more like they're like this, that, that. They're all in that same spot. Okay. There's not a time-space thing here, really. At first it might seem so, but not really. So, easy the eye, settling, easy. So part of your basic there in shifting to inner work is to make sure you're not ding, ding, ding up here with the eye, bouncing back and forth. Easy the eye. And as you start to settle and get quiet, it'll jump in and chatter some more. That's chatter, easy. And you start to drift into a better level of that I. Let's call it I self, just arbitrary words. I self that is naturally quieter, has a different sense of things. And I like that word sense, sensing, which is different thinking. I'm going to meditate. Let me think about it. Okay, so not thinking. So create a word here. Let's say sensing. If you have a better word, use it. Ease, sense, hush. And as you shift, it's not that we're getting this busy one to stop. I don't know what it does. As I shift, it's just quieter here. It's calmer with itself. It's easier with itself. This one may still exist, but to check, I'd have to sort of kick up and go into that place where the chatter is. So I don't know if it disappears for a little while or what. So I don't stay in it trying to get it to disappear. You can't sort of kill things that way, but they will naturally move from one to the next if you set things up properly. We kind of did that with the 1x, 2x, 3x game. We positioned ourselves in a crowded in realm where the best it could do was be a 1x1er. If you remember how physically that was, how mentally that was, how your viewpoint was okay? And then when that felt fairly total, we said, okay, now let's move into a 2x2, okay? And just to accentuate it, we stepped an extra step, had extra sides, ceiling a little taller, stuff like that. But that's right here, it's no big deal. And you move into a 2x2 or really a finer dimension. And being open in a finer dimension, the energies makes up a little better character who can move better, see things better, have a feeling for things a bit better. And then we went from that one into a 3x3, which is even better again. So there it is in its simplicity. It's almost like if we keep doing a 1x, 2x, 3x game, potentially have it all just in that game. Let's come around on that game. I'd like to try it with some other variations one day. So inner work. Okay. Now in Aikido, Kacha again, please. Oh, let's see how we want to do it. Okay, here's how I like to show things. Ushido. There you go. We on camera there? Okay. So for example, extrinsic, boom, boom. And I realize I need more biceps, so I go to the gym and thicken up my bicep. In one sense, that's not wrong, but for the game that we're playing, I pass on that and I go into inner. And on the inner, I settle and open, and it mixes up. This character, I've named, for me, this character is not Elevator Man, Monday.
Hydraulic Man.
Hydraulic Man, thank you. My brain cells are going. Boom, I settle and I open, and the energies mix. I can feel them surging here. They're coming up through the body, mixing up, creating that guy. Okay? And so I purposely pass on, but I can get away this way, and if I hit you here, I gotcha. I know that. I knew that before Aikido. I was a martial artist. But this was fascinating, this inner work, that inner work. Okay? Now, the models that you need could change. If she were hovering over me a little bit more, around me, you have to pull on me, just hover around me. And I twist out of this, okay? So, now, if you're staying extrinsic, then you can be, let's say, cute, and you realize, there, I got her. But if you look at my form, I had all kinds of breaks, and I was getting a little weird, okay? We could do a Snake Man, and the attack sense is a bit different, where the hydraulic man is not the right guy, but your system knows that. System won't mix up the wrong character. It's intelligent, easy. And if she's hovering a bit more, it mixes up Snake Man. Really, my feeling is like thick boa constrictor, but he has center. The snake, in a certain way, has its own center, its own connection to itself. Okay, so it's not a cute trick. But yeah, look how cute I am. Recognize that you're going off into a different area. You're not working inner anymore. Okay. At first, again, when you start to play inner, the outer people could again look better than you faster. The guy being the cute guy who snakes his way out could say, see, I got out of it and you're still stuck there or something. Uh, so you got to kind of know where you're at and what you're doing. Okay. If you're really going for inner, you've got to hang out with it for a while. Should we say trust? Have faith? Sounds Christian, doesn't it? But there is something there. That's what O-Sensei tried to show you just by being O-Sensei. There is something here. And look at it, it's working. Watch me. It's working. It's here. It's doing fantastic things. Okay. Somebody. Notes here. And okay, story time. I might have mentioned the book Archery, Zen and the Art of Archery, Eugen Herrigel, old time book. And he had a Western Herrigel was a student and was interested in this Zen archery thing. And along in his training, he got a little frustrated one day, and he purposefully set up to hit that target. And the teacher saw him and freaked out, got so angry, kicked him out of the school, very angry. Because Herrigel, the Zen archery was an inner development for an outer activity, but inner development in Herrigel purposely came into the outer. Even though he scored a bullseye, the sensei didn't care. He came outer. Okay. Later, Herrigel begged him to come back, and he was brought back in, and then got past that stage. But you have to know where you are so you don't jump out of inner to do outer, because you might get a little faster results or something. But it's going to dry up eventually. The inner work continues, has a long way to go, and the rewards are fantastic. A lot of possibilities. Outer, we're a little more limited. I was strong when I was young, not the strongest guy in town, but I was strong. I could jump really cool. Okay. Had a lot of capabilities, but I can't do that now. I said, get up off a chair kind of thing, you know? So very limited in certain outer things. So I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, where are you going? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Okay. So art of archery, yeah. I thought was just typical. Another one. Let's see. Story time. My beginnings, I've said this one again, but let's hear it again. So I'm a judo man, and I'm also really am interested in meditating, so I began to meditate. Then I noticed when I meditate and go to judo, my judo is better. I thought, is that for real? Is that an accident? You know, a week or whatever later, meditate, and I go to judo class. Oops, same thing. I'm really performing a lot better. And I think there's some kind of connection, but I can't fathom what that connection is. Why should meditating, inner, finer, sort of upper in those days, why should that have any bearing on that? And it did. Okay. And around the same time, I was doing a little hatha yoga, or started to do hatha yoga, and I'm sort of fast at certain things. So virtually the first day I did a yoga posture, you feel these energies coursing around. What the hell is that about? Because the book I was reading while I tried to do these, I didn't say anything about those energies coursing around. I could feel this activity going on. So then also, following this story, I reached a point where I was meditating and enjoying the hell out of meditation, and seeing things were nicer in the meditation space, especially very beautiful and kinder, and on and on. And yet here I am practicing an art to be a killer. Get into martial arts where you want to bring that guy down, you want to hurt that guy, you want to demolish that guy. And I had a quandary there for a while. Where do these two fit in? Because they obviously don't fit in. I want to learn to kill. No, I want to meditate and get into whatever. That puzzled me for a while. And after that is when I bumped into Aikido, and realized I could have my cake and eat it too. I could continue to do, quote, martial art like moves, but continue with my inner work. I was so happy. Okay. Inner work and still being able to bend wrists and stuff. I loved it. Right? We, again, watch out for having come into Aikido with this inner urge, that's the self, inner urge that there's something in Aikido for you. And then as you get busy doing techniques, you forget what this inner urge was. And you go off into more techniques and this and that and whatever. So that could be a good trick if you could go back and experience yourself at that early urge of Aikido. Might be worthwhile to tap it again in case you disconnected from it to get into it fuller. Could be a good trick. Since I mentioned it, so it'll be worth doing. Okay. The inner work, fuller. Okay, let's do this one here. Let's say the inner work, so I settle, open. Let's say we're working on the mix here is fuller, mixing up fuller. Okay. So a fuller, let's do this side. Okay. Fuller. Now, say the Nichol, you're going extrinsic. Okay, I'm going to Nichol you over there, and I'm going to get thicker up here, and I'm going to add an extra lunge from up here because it hurts. I got her. Or take some time here first. Settle, open. We got our fuller. And the fuller man doing Aikido, it's fuller. And now one thing I noticed, and I'll continue with this, is fuller man, the way his hand and fingers move, it's just fuller. And I think the direction is proper. And I see some people try to do things with their hands. Okay? It's a little more extrinsic with it. Okay? Instead of fuller, naturally the hands move. If you're Nichol or fuller, they'll naturally move properly for this technique. If you need a variation, they'll naturally create a variation. Okay? So fuller. Now, what else? Fuller. All right. Okay. Let's say on this technique, again, fuller. Hang on for a second. Settle, open, fuller. Fuller person on this technique, the flow outward, if it's fuller, should be fuller. Okay? Back to the Nichol for a moment. When I see people using fuller as a reference who have an energy leak here, I think, well, that's a shame. They're losing 20%, well, at least 10% of their power when it leaks. like trying to pour water out of the hose and having a leak in the hose. If you're trying to conserve or use your water intelligently, you'd fix that leak. Just be fuller, because fuller doesn't have such an obvious leak. Okay, now where are we here? Here, fuller, that naturally moves properly. Yet I see a lot of people doing weird things with their hands that there's no energy coming out. If they're fuller, that should be natural. Fuller. Okay, so fuller, and then watch how the arms move and stuff. There, I grabbed it. The extrinsic people may even be able to grab it stronger at first, but it's extrinsic. But I want to practice inner. So inner, I flow along with her a bit better. So I choose inner, and I let it see how it manifests in the outer, but I don't go crazy with the outer. I'm just aware of it. Okay, I continue to work the inner, right? Because if you're not clear enough, you'll work inner, get a better outer. There, I'm flowing. Oh, I stepped back. Oh, I'm more receptive. I'm receptive, and I step back, and there. And from that moment on, they're going to start to come out a little bit. They won't do more inner or deeper inner or finer inner. They've touched a certain level, and they're busy out here again. Okay, did I say that clearly enough? Yeah. Okay. So, here, for example, I walked through this with Katya so she could get her body aligned right there. And she said, I do it different. Yeah. Other people, what word did you use? Hit you or?
Leaning.
Huh?
There's a leaning into you.
You lean into you, they sort of hit you, almost like a push. But being the fuller one, here, there's a feeling I'm a little too far away. Okay. So the fuller one moves in. Boom. So there was no bump. There was no, I'm going to get her, hit her. The fuller one figured out it's too far away. And the fuller one, naturally fuller, continued in. And fuller, fuller touched her. Thank you. Okay. So once you start inner work, do notice if you're going to start to drift out of it, get involved in outer a bit too much. Even if I have an outer question, like, how can that technique be better? Which sounds like something I should do. Let me bore you again one more time. Let's do this one again. Can you do something to block me out as I have a problem? Okay, here, she's pushing a bit, and my basic at first doesn't work. System. I've got a problem here. I settle and I open. And the system, I'm hearing absorb. Now, it's not talking to me. Okay, I will absorb her. I could get some results, but it's not really full inner work. Again, settle, open. I can sense this absorption. Oh, absorb that. There's a sense of absorption. Absorb. Okay. So because she was pushing, this drew her in. Okay. And even though my arms are a little closer, if it's a full absorption, they're still full. They're still full. Even if I go small, it's a full small. It's not minus small. Okay? Inner work, inner work. story. So the book Golf in the Kingdom, which Bob Noah told me is one of the biggest selling golf books. Unbelievable. I think I have a copy around the house someplace. I'll have to find it one day because I wrote a piece in there. If you happen to read the book, the handwritten piece is me. Anyway, so before he wrote the book, Michael Murphy, the author, asked me to work with him on golf. I hadn't seen a golf stroke for a lot of years. So I went a half an hour earlier to the range. And I was watching a guy there. He was a big guy, strong guy. And when he hit it, and then I watched him for a while and I saw his pattern. When he hit it, it went straight and far. And then the next one would be, and the third one would be, and that was his pattern consistently. One good one, and then a fair one, questionable, and then and over and over and over the same pattern. And I thought, this guy will never be a money player. He's not very consistent. He can't do 3 good ones in a row, you know. So then Michael gets there. I start him off with just an easy touch. And we're not trying for anything, just a touch. And then if I see him more extrinsic, I say no. Now the ball may have gone kind of straight. If I saw some inner, had a sense of any inner thing going on, and he touched the ball, even if the ball angle off, I'd say yes. So he was very confused. He'd look at me like, what the hell are you talking about? So I kept this going for a while. Yes, no, no, yes. Okay. What I was checking was whether it's coming from more of an inner or was the outer a bit. Okay. And then it looked like he was clicking in this interior ensemble. Easy to the eye, so it's present. The energies are mixing up properly. A character, that's a bit of an ensemble there. There's more in the bigger picture, but that's a good piece of it. And then when it looked like he had a bit of an ensemble there, I said, okay, now hit away. We had a bucket of balls, which are quite a few balls. I don't remember how many, but a bunch. And he was hitting away, but he was retaining this inner set. Boom, straight and far, boom, straight and far, boom. Every ball in that bucket that he hit went straight and far. And he looked at me with awe at the end of this and said, I've never done that my whole life. Golfing was his big thing. Of course, he wrote Golf in the Kingdom, you can imagine. And he said, I never did that my whole life. Okay, I was checking him out internally. Okay, better internal, better that should be, but don't get caught up in that over the better of this. That's where we lose people. They get a little bit better. Oh, I got it now, and they go off. In Aikido, that can happen. You'll see somebody in the old days kind of start with catching on to that centering could be exciting, or rooting we didn't use too much, grounding, or energy flow, and they'd be really excited. They'd talk it up. But as the months and years went on, you wouldn't hear much more talk about that from them. They'd be into doing the technique better, in sort of an extrinsic sense, with a very limited amount of center or ground or energy, whatever, like they had forgotten it. And I don't want you to forget it. You know, if it's inner work is the main work. Extrinsic results, sure, I'm aware of them. I keep note, but I don't go into them to correct them and do better at them, getting more extrinsic, if you would. Go back to the inner. I trust the inner. I trust the opening. I trust that there's another dimension. And if I open and allow it, it's going to mix up a better level. And if I do that again, next is going to open up a better level, mix up better. That's how it works. And if you're really interested in inner work, you'll learn how to sit there and get past the first pushes of it, settle into a better level. I try to show you some of the tricks, like if you're being pushed too much, how to recognize it, how to settle, how to open. Try to give you little pictures of things like the potted plant theory, so that you will open a bit and dimensionally touch finer soil, which will help mix up a stronger plant who has a better core stem center and flow more and produce better oranges, whatever it is. Okay. So that's all I've been trying to get across. So inner work. Again, watch out for the eye and the awareness. They'll screw it up, confuse you a bit. How to settle, breathe. We use the core, the I to the self. Self is at first kind of elusive because it's wrapped up with the energies and it's a little hard to tell who's who for a little bit. But for example, playing with the balance of energies, when you get a little bit better degree, a little bit better balance, the self can start to show itself a bit more. It's there, but it's wrapped up in energies. It's like it's in fog, but it's there. Okay? So we use different things as tricks, trying to touch better level of self, a better level of self, then having a better sense of itself, not a thinking, not an idea, a sense. I like that word. Have a better word? Fine. A sense of itself, and it senses, or you sense. What do you think? Fine. What do you settle? Open. What do you sense? You get a sense of that sense? Okay. So basic meditation for me is that movement from an I, settling, opening, to another level of self, better level of self, the energies around it will naturally be better. Okay. But if I'm meditating, I don't check and see what kind of character they're creating. I could, but I'm meditating. I want to continue that one, moving along. Who am I really? Or before I was, who was I? Or something, just to keep you moving along, dimensionally finer. So that's for me, meditation. Okay. So the better we balance out, the easier that can show. The better that shows, the better these will appear, activate. So they're all in response to each other. The better the balance of the character gets, then the world it's in, another major piece, will reference it better. If you're all in disarray, don't be surprised if the world comes at you in a disarrayed manner. You're all screwed up. No wonder that other person, no wonder your neighbor is screwing you up. You're screwed up. Okay, that kind of thing. As you square away more, you're more apt to have things happen better. There is a relationship between all of these things. As the self is a little clearer with itself, sensing itself, the first body character, the mix of energies, will be better. The realm it's in, or the situation, or the world, I use all those words to represent that other component of creation, will naturally line up. Okay. Some people do it. I don't know how many have to see if we get a percentage on that, but I'm definitely up and down makes up a better body first. That's my history. Sensei was of that school also. But some people can do a better alignment with the realm, the realm, the realm, the realm. And as they activate with the realm, there's a character here. Okay. So I don't know the percentage of people that do that, but that's feasible too. So once you got the pieces, it almost doesn't matter which way you go, as long as you know what you're doing. Okay, I would often ask those sensei, is this that, or is that this? And he'd say, it doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent. Okay. So when we do, let's say we do an up and down energy beat, I sometimes say something like, if you want to do it the other way around, meaning down and then up, feel free. As long as you're consistent, everything will work out in a balanced manner. Okay? So the proper, so we got self, energy's character. Okay? We add in the realm you're in, the world you're in, situation you're in, and that's also alive. All three are alive their own way. And part of the game is being squared away, all of those in proper relationship with each other. The word unit is coming up, makes a nice unit. Can have a sense of it being like really squared away. And on Sensei's lineage, that's very important. Even at this level here, right here, this level, to be squared away at this level is very important piece. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, this level, okay? So it doesn't have to be the purest of I self, just a sense of I self, a sense of the energies mixing, character, and your relationship with whatever's going on around you. All the pieces are there. You have a nice package or a nice, you're squared away, or eventually unit. Okay, so following those sensei, that's an important piece, even at, we call it level 1, even here right now. So Bobby, I don't know, Bobby, I picture him as being too much in the mind, but Robert could get squared away and have all these pieces. Okay. Dimensionality, the scads of dimensionalities, just kind of get the flavor of how you move from one to the next, and the different flavors of each dimension. You kind of did that when you did a 1 by 2 by 3 by, that the energies that were there were different in each one. Level 1, you were a bit. Level 2, much better. Level 3, ooh, not bad at all. It's no big deal. So just get a feeling of how that works, how moving along. Or I say Bobby to Robert to Nadeau to Sensei. Almost not a big deal. But you do need to practice a little bit with them and get familiar with how it works. Later, these things can be short and be very fast. Oh, Sensei was fast, just not fast. Fast and suddenly being this fantastic thing was there, and fantastic things were happening. Because he was fantastic, fantastic things were happening. He was very fast. But take your time, get the lay of the land, learn a few tricks of the trade. If you're interested in inner and more inner, then make sure that takes dominance over extrinsic out there. That has to be your call. Again, we lose a lot of people. They go inner a little bit, get a little bit better, and because they're getting better, they suddenly get into better, 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 better. And we sort of lose that. I'm good enough, Sensei. I'm better, better, better. So they tap a bit and then get better and then stay out there being better. And it's okay. We say, well, that's better than being worse. But if you're on the journey, they've stopped, they've diverged. Okay, so only you can decide how far inner and fine inner you want to go. But sort of be clear on what you're doing. Okay. I think good enough. We're taking just a 1 minute or less break while I pull my chair closer. If anybody wants to hang out and we'll bullshit anything, I'll hang out. Next week, I'm thinking qualities. I want to go, we've talked on qualities before. Elaine asked me to hit it again also. And I'm feeling a push from qualities. We might get into qualities in a different modality next week. I think so. Okay, thank you.
Sensei. Thank you, Sensei. And we'll take just a minute or two break, let you step off camera, and we'll continue. We'll be waiting for your return.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be here. So true.
Well, everybody, just hang on. Sensei will be back in just a moment. We put up this title slide during the intermission just because it makes it easy to edit afterwards when we post to YouTube. And as everybody knows, we have all of these sessions posted to YouTube and to the createabeautifulworld.org website. If you want to go back and look at them some more, you're completely welcome to. I think Sensei brought up a lot of really interesting ideas today and demonstrations. So please get your questions ready or your comments. I know that Sensei really appreciates the feedback and the interaction with people, even though we're separated physically. I'd like to still engage using this Zoom class experience. And I'll be posting information about how you can help spread the word. Nadeau Sensei is like to welcome everybody who's interested in this practice to join via Zoom or to watch on YouTube. And so we'd like to enlarge the spread, the range of people who are know about this and are like to welcome to come. So I'm going to send some information so you can help spread the word through your social media networks or your students or your friends and family. And as always, I'll also post information in a few moments about how you can make a voluntary contribution if you're so inclined. And so with that, we're back to Sensei. Hello, Sensei.
I'm here, I think.
I think you are too.
Okay.
And so we can have.
Is Alan still on?
Alan is here. He has to unmute.
Okay.
I'm still here, Sensei.
Okay. I heard you're interested in taking acting classes. I think that's great. My quick reminder there is I always thought a great actor was somebody who could clear the sense and allow the energies for the character that he has to play to enter and mix, so that in doing that fuller and fuller, the manner, the proper mannerism of that character, the way he speaks, the way he thinks, how he moves his head, everything is there. A great actor. And then when the thing is finished, you clear again and you can, and then Alan will be back. Okay. So the ability of clearing, I always thought was a great trick of the great actors and actresses. You follow that okay?
I do, and that is really a great advice. Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I attended a lecture by a lady who was pretty famous in the coaching actors field, and pretty big audience, so I knew she had a name. And the question came up from the audience. One young man said, I can do nice guy roles, but if I have to be a bad guy, I can't do it. And the look on her face was like, oh, I've heard this 100 times before. And she didn't know how to answer him. I wanted to jump up and raise my hand and say, I know. Anyway, it was her show. But this retaining his own character and trying to bring up the energies of a bad guy, it intertwined with him. He didn't want to feel a bad guy through his Alan, through his first self. But if you clear, you let the son of a bitch be the baddest killer or whatever, and you'll look great at it. But if you're trying to get this character through your system, you're going to go, oh, not that, oh, not that. So that's where I thought they were having the problem. They didn't know how to clear, really. They were, I'm going to decide who this character should be. I'm going to tell it how to be. And there's still too involved in there where it has to work through their system. Okay, so clear. I think it's a fantastic training pattern, a lot of the things that they do. Okay?
Thank you.
And one day I want to have a conversation with you about speed, but not tonight, another day.
Yep.
And so, Sensei,
Okay.
I'd like
Yeah.
to encourage people to just call out their questions to you, to just unmute their mic and speak up as they like. Whoever likes to go first, please.
Sensei Bob Noah here.
Yeah,
You were talking about the Golf in the Kingdom book and about the proper way to mix a character. And in that book, Michael Murphy talks about Ben Hogan, who he thought was the greatest golfer of all time. And he was very inner focused in that way. When he was a fairly young guy, his car got hit by a Greyhound bus and he was seriously injured. And it didn't really slow him down. And then I read a biography of Hogan where he was on the verge of losing it because he had dementia, and he could still play golf well, which tells me he was able to mix the character because he wasn't intertwined with the eye, even though the eye was going somewhere else at that point. But he could still play very well, even though he was in the early stages of dementia, even because he had that inner focus. And I actually saw him at the US Open in 1966, and he was hitting balls. And I would say that the balls didn't deviate from where they landed. This was on the driving range, more than 3 or 4 feet as he hit a whole bucket of balls. And he was well past his prime at that point.
Yeah.
That was a good example of what you're talking about.
So apparently Michael Murphy had a good enough eye to see or see this inner thing going on. Yeah. So,
yes.
So good. Somebody.
We had a question written in, and they're looking for advice on how to handle if they feel stalled out when they're trying to work with more energy, more dimensions.
Well, there's a variety of ways of being stalled out. So that's just kind of a little bit vague. Are you stalled out because you fall asleep? Are you stalled out because I need more? In what form? Where are you when you're being stalled out? Meaning, what level are you at, and in what form are you being stalled out? I really need a lot more details. Stalled out is a bit too vague. I mean, I could throw out another vague answer and say, break through the stall out. But that's not going to do it.
Sensei,
so yes.
Linda Eskin here. Thank you. I was the one who asked the question, and I appreciate you making that distinction. I think maybe what I can best do right now is go back into my experience and look into that for myself. Like why? What is that stalled outness?
Give me more details. But I like what you said. Go back to that same level. Your system replay wasn't created by my television set. You have replay capability in your system. How can we have replay out here in our world? Because it exists in a finer system. Therefore, it oozed out and somebody said, hey, let's hit the replay button. So you have replay available. So yes, good. And just give me more details there. Like run it in slower motion or something. Just give me more details. Okay. Yeah. And then
Thank
you
you,
can,
Sensei. That's,
you
I think
can
what I'd like to do is
call me
sit
or
with it
write me
until
or
next
something.
week. And
Yeah. Or,
great. Thank you so much.
or get my number from David or whatever.
Thank you, Sensei.
Somebody.
Sensei, this is Dave from Chicago. You talked
Hi,
about,
Dave from Chicago.
you were talking about sort of not letting your power leak, whether it's through your elbows and
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
fuller. How do you, when I feel when I recognize and I'm aware of that leakage, you can sort of fill it up easier, but how do you catch it when you're not sort of constantly,
Okay.
without trying to be constantly on top of it?
Okay. Let me hang with that for a second. Hang on. Say, Brad, can I borrow your hand? Make it look good, Brad. Put your mask on. Are we? Is the screen working here? Huh? Okay. So let's see. We're talking about an energy leak here. Okay. If I realize I have a leak, click, I realize I'm shifting out of a fuller system. So click, go back to open, and it's mixing, and there it is, a better system. Now, what did I miss on your question?
If you're not when you're not sort of immediately aware of it, how do you catch it before you sort of recognize that leak? If you're not sort of if you're not immediately aware of it before it happens, how do you prevent that leak before it's even there, or before you're aware?
Okay. With practice, you get. With practice, you get a better sense of, oh, I'm pretty full. That you can recognize your level. So, sideline here for a moment. So the examples I use, if you have a feeling for yourself, there'll be days, even though you're a mountain climber, where you'd say, not today. Okay. You'd have to get into that mountain climber mix place. And a lot of people don't have enough sense of themselves to be able to weigh themselves, recognize experientially themselves. And so they're half-assed and they're saying, I'm great. That's a half-assed person. They got a great idea, but and you've seen people like that. They're mouthing off, but you kind of look at them and go, he ain't got it. He's mouthing off. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So you do the best you can to be that better level, and you go into the situation. And if it happens that it's not as full as you thought, it'll let you know. You'll leak, or you'll miss the technique of it, or it won't be your best technique, and you'll know. So there's a stipulation there. Do the best you can up front. Enter the situation the best you can, and then live with it. And if it's not good enough, we go back to the drawing board. Jesus, I should have handled that situation better. You remember when you had an argument with the boss or something, and you realized later you could have handled it better? Yes, you go back to the drawing board, you remix, mix up a better, so that if that ever happens again, you can instantly get to that better. So do the best you can going in, and if it's not good enough, back to the drawing board. But we know what the drawing board is now. The system wants to develop and advance. Is that clear enough?
Absolutely, Sensei. Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Hi, Sensei. It's Mike from New Zealand.
Of course it is.
Uh,
What's up?
okay. Do you feel people in the art that practice the extrinsic art, do you believe that they can also, without being aware of it, develop some of the internal?
Oh, of course, of course. There's a lot in the art that sort of sets it up. You know, blend with your partner. Even that word alone, or that sense, that'll help. You know, the word, some words that's thrown around like be center. You know, and if anyone has any sense, they'll catch a little bit more on set. So yes, that'll happen. Even in a different art, there'll be certain guys who are good at the art, certain people who are good at the art, along with another 1,000 guys who are good at the art. But out of that 1,000, a couple of them will become unbelievably great. Okay. So there is something extra in there. The 1,000 became damn good. But out of the 1,000, there'll be a couple who become great. Something happened in their systems where they may not be able to describe how they became great. They may not become good coaches because they don't often know what happened, but they triggered into by accident or whatever this better level where they were the great ones. Is sort of answer your question?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And any other questions for Nadeau Sensei? Any comments? Well, Sensei, I'll ask one if you don't mind.
Okay.
You talked tonight about how the system is intelligent, and
Yeah.
it will mix up the character that's needed for that moment.
If
And
allowed, it
if-
will mix up the proctor. Yes.
If allowed, and I think I heard you say that you have to trust your system to do that.
Oh, always, always, always. So you start with simple things where you realize the damn thing is working. Hey, and then you begin to trust it in bigger things. First, you only gamble $5, and once your system is obviously working, then you pick it up to $50. Nobody's saying take your life savings and put it on the table here.
And can you help us with some sort of concrete example? If I were in an Aikido class and you wanted me to trust trust the force more, how would you?
Stop doing it. Now people will misunderstand. Okay, I won't do it, and that's not it. So that wasn't quite the right phrase. Play some game. I don't know. Easy, settle. A lot of what we do in Aikido is play a game. That's why we train harmoniously. So we have a chance to play a game where we often don't have to worry of, oh my God, the guy's going to strike me in the eyes or kick me in the groin or break my arm. We play a game of as if there is a level of harmony, train harmoniously. We play a game of trying to let that show. What can help? Settle and open, play the game. Now, again, a tighter eye or a certain level of eye is a critiquer and a not truster. A level of eye doesn't trust anything. If he can't put his hand on it, he doesn't trust it. He's got to be able to put his hand on it and feel it. Now I trust it. It exists. If you say, well, energy exists, you say, well, I can't feel it, so it doesn't exist. You play games to allow yourself to enter these dimensions is one form. Does that do anything for you?
Yes, Sensei. And if I might, there's another thing that you said that I really resonated, which is how you were pointing at the diagram and you were talking about how if your inner practice develops, your outer practice will reflect it. And if you're
now, if we don't go crazy about that, because then there's where we're going to lose the people. But yes,
and so, but isn't the outer practice, or it seems that the outer practice can also be kind of a doorway into the inner practice, but it depends on the attitude.
Depends on the person.
Mhm.
I just said that to New Zealand. I just said that. Some guys, when they continue to train, we're not talking Aikido now, just jocks, and they're training and being pretty good at football or whatever. And out of that 1,000 guys who are doing that, some click in. Noah was talking about Arnold Palmer, was it?
Ben Hogan.
Hogan. Sorry, Ben Hogan. Now, out of the greats, out of the million of golfers and the hundreds of greats, he was great. Why did I go into that? That it can happen. Ask me again what we're talking about. I just got lost.
The relationship between inner practice and outer practice, and the importance of attitude.
Okay. Yeah, so practice, for some people, practice outwards, a few of those will sort of naturally click into some kind of inner thing, and they become the specials. They become the Hogans of the world. Very few of them. Okay. Why are we talking about training outward? I'm just into inner. Did I miss something? Go ahead again.
No, you talked about how people are the inner. Most people come to Aikido that stay with you are motivated for some sort of inner development, rather than they quick want to learn to hurt people. All right, or they want to defend themselves, but that still we practice waza, we practice techniques. And
yes, outside reference. I'm aware of the technique. I'm aware of how far he fell. I'm aware of how hard he hit, or how effective my technique was. But again, only to the point of kicking it back to my inner and having my inner mix up better. So yes, I'm aware of all that outer stuff, of course. But my main reference is inner.
I understand, and I understand that.
What am I missing?
I'm not missing anything. I think that I'm just trying to ask you to articulate the proper attitude that people should approach training if the inner practice is in fact the goal and the essence of the art. And maybe you've explained it already, Sensei. I don't want to.
I like the sense of, which you probably won't say too often, of giving people in training time, and you probably won't see this too much around the world, time to settle as a settling practice, or time to do anything that's inner and then go back to their outer. I'm a bit leery of schools that are just outer and faster outer and stronger outer and do that for the whole session, where you're more apt to take an inner person into the, if you would, craziness, a craziness of outer, the busyness of outer, and not give them a chance to touch on the inner. So if I had my druthers, I would druther have every 15 minutes some kind of reminding practice that we're inner. And now let's go back to the outer and see let's from inner see how the outer is affected. That would be my preference. And schools that just run, just to run. They could get faster and have better wind, but run around the goddamn block if you want better wind. Where are you coming to Aikido? Or stop smoking. I ain't going there. I'm just throwing that out. Anyway.
Thank you so much, Sensei. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Is that it?
I'd like to make a last call for questions. Anyone have any final comments or questions for Sensei?
Yes, Sensei, this is Bonnie from Alaska. I have a question on how you hold on to the inner experience of Aiki, or also of compassion, as you travel back and forth through the dimension in a harmonious manner.
Lauren, I
Yes,
did hear all of that.
question,
The
the
first
question,
part,
Bonnie's question is, how do you hold on to this inner sense of, let's call it compassion? How do you hold on to this inner sense?
okay, first, I don't want to hang on to anything, because that's, I want to hang on to that. I like that. I want to hang on to it. You're not, potentially, you're not opening this. Since I said the system is always changing, things are changing fast. You got to be there with the changes. You want to hang on to things because you like that thing. I'm not saying the thing is wrong or whatever, but you hanging on to it already stops anything new and fresh and fuller from happening. So I'd have to say, I understand what you're saying, because there are certain qualities or things that I enjoyed. I'm trying to think how to say this right. I remember let's see, doing some basic work, and there'd be a quality there and an experience that was like, wow. And the next day, I really liked the previous day's experience. I want to repeat. I love the chocolate ice cream. I want more chocolate ice cream. And I would do all my basics, and I couldn't get chocolate ice cream. And I'd be into it 45 minutes sometimes. I'm really dumb. 45 minutes sometimes, where I realized, oh, that's not today. I had to let go of all of that and open up for today. And today might have been strawberry ice cream. And you're trying to hang on to this one thing because you think it's special. And in so doing, you don't catch potentially the anything else who needs a turn. So that's my suggestion. So I understand where you're coming from. There's certain things we really like. We try to replicate and duplicate. And I don't go there. I say, what's for today? I know what I would like, but pass. What's for today? And let the system mix up. I trust the intelligence. I trust the system, the finer levels of me that I settle and open to know me better than Bobby knows me. You see, remember, a lot of these things are Bobby decides I like that. Well, what about Robert's sense? What about Nadeau's sense? What about Dada's sense? So I understand why you want to hang on to something you like, but you're kind of also screwing it up. Trust the system. Open up to it. Take it as it comes. And I used to practice that. Once I caught that, I would practice a bit. Even driving my car, I know you like to drive. Driving my car, I'd say, what do I have to do right now? And that was kind of a fun game, because at first we'd say things like, well, first shut up and settle, and now, okay, and now what do I have to do? And it would just guide me along into that time, that period of time, what I needed and who should be there. And I found that to be a hell of a fun game. Okay?
Bonnie, did you hear?
No.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Sensei. I'll practice catching and releasing compassion for the current training. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, not wrong, not a baddie, but don't get in the way. I get in the way. I like this. I'm in the way suddenly. Huh? It's weird. No, but I like compassion. How can I be in the way? You're in the way. Remember, kill the Buddha along the way? Buddha, you don't want to kill Buddha. He's a great. Kill the Buddha along the way. He's in the way. Kind of thing. Okay. I'm about finishing. Anybody, any last ones? And I'll bow out.
Oh, you've done great, Bob.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Sensei. Thank you. And
Dee?
thank you, everyone. And we'll adjourn. Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thanks, Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, everyone.